HOA shut off my electricity to enforce rules. They didn't know I owned their power substation. The lights in my house went out at exactly 7:12 p.m. No storm, no warning, no outage in the area. Just darkness. 5 minutes later, I got an email from the HOA. It said, "Electric service has been suspended to enforce community compliance." That's when I realized. They had no idea who they were dealing with. I live just outside a gated HOA neighborhood. I'm not part of the HOA, never signed anything, never agreed to their rules. But my land sits right next to theirs. And years ago, before the HOA even existed, I installed a private electrical substation on my property. That substation doesn't just power my home. It feeds their entire neighborhood. Legally, documented, recorded. The HOA uses it under an old easement agreement. And apparently, they forgot. A week earlier, I got a warning letter. They claimed my backup generator enclosure was visible from the road and violated HOA appearance standards. I replied politely. I told them, "I'm not under HOA authority. Please stop contacting me." They didn't like that. So instead of checking jurisdiction, they decided to cut my power lines. When the electricity went out, I walked outside. The meter seal was broken. The cutoff switch was flipped. That's not a rule violation. That's utility tampering. And in most states, that's a felony. 10 minutes later, another HOA email arrived. It said, "Power will remain disconnected until compliance is achieved." So I opened a folder on my desk. Inside it were the substation deed, the utility interconnection agreement, the easement granting the HOA access, not control, and one very important clause. Any interference with substation operations immediately voids access rights. I replied with one sentence. "You just voided your easement." Then I made one phone call to the utility company, not to complain, to notify. Within an hour, utility engineers showed up, then a city inspector, then HOA board members. Because when the HOA cut my power, they also triggered an automatic shutdown protocol, which meant their neighborhood, every house, streetlights, security gates, all went dark. Residents were calling 911. The HOA president was screaming about sabotage. The inspector didn't even look at me. He looked at the HOA board and said, "You are not authorized to touch this equipment. You've exposed residents to risk, and you may be personally liable." That's when the HOA lawyer arrived. He flipped through the documents, stopped, went silent, and said, "You shut off power. To the owner of the substation." Nobody answered. The HOA restored my power immediately. They paid for repairs, inspections, emergency response